What is happening?
Yes. They always call about for job. The guy name is Milo. So please forgive
But
me,
this
sir.
one, now your guy, you don't see what that man talk. Say you came and met him. Say you want to open your children account and not to monitor them.
Sir, please forgive me.
So you want to tell us saying only 2 people you don't join and go kidnap?
Yes, sir.
You're a liar.
Sir, forgive me.
Now this time, now don't carry me. This face I dey see, I mean they lie down for chair like this. I don't see it. That come out here. I see your face. They lie down koro. I go court. You now you be first person where I go point hand for court. You dey lie down koro for chair. When they carry me, they butcher me to die.
God. Sir, I don't know anything concerning your matter. I don't know.
Lie to lie. I dey see your face.
I don't know anything concerning your matter, sir. Please, forgive me. I beg, sir. Sir, forgive me. My wife just bossed the boy at 6 months.
Look at.
Break a leg. You would have forgiven him. And you don't look for forgiveness.
Forgive me, sir. Sir, please.
Crime no dey pay.
Welcome back. I trust you're fine. Today's true crime story is coming from Nigeria, West Africa. It is a story that recently broke just some few days ago and is still unfolding. Investigations are ongoing. But then, this story epitomizes perfectly the saying that all that glitters is not gold. It is a true crime story of a self-styled motivational speaker by day and an active, aggressive, and unforgiving kidnapper by night, who also doubles, or better still, triples as a junior pastor. This story is just going to shake you to your core how cunning and seemingly fake people can be and pretend to be just so they can fit in society and be able to manipulate others. This is the story of John Iwa, also known as John Lyon of Nigeria, and how he would metamorphose from a humble beginning into a serial kidnapper. If you are ready for this ride, buckle up and let's go. John Iwa, aka John Lyon, was on top of the world. He was enjoying life lavishly, chilling at the biggest nightclubs, throwing cash around, and also enjoying the best hotels around. He was eating the best intercontinental dishes, hanging with the top boys, the big guys, and he was the dream of every young man coming up in life. People looked up to him, and some also looked at him and wondered what they had done wrong in life not to have achieved the status he's at, since they were age mates with him but seemed to be far behind in life. But this would take an unfortunate turn when he turned up being arrested recently by the Nigerian Police Special Unit called the Puff Adder, and the allegation or the accusation is serial kidnapping. We are going to dig deep to look at how this young man started and his evolution, and how he used Christianity and motivational quotes to water down and hide and disguise his true source of wealth. On the 20th of August 2012, John Iwa, aka John Lyon at the time, put out a post on Facebook saying that, "Do not tell me about your friend, but one day you have to tell your friend about me." Take note of this post, as it has now, per recent events, become like a prophecy about his own life that he put out 10 years ago. Now, the story begins. John Iwa originally started work with one of the new generation banks in Nigeria. Things were going well until he got fired for financial malpractices with his employer. This is a standard practice in all financial institutions. Financial malfeasance is not condoned, and you lose your job if you engage in any financial malfeasance. John would move on in life, and the bank would also move on with its operations, thinking that was the end of it. Little did they know that their paths would cross again. Fast forward, John formed a criminal syndicate who had one single goal of amassing money and financial gain from kidnappings. They would go on to be responsible for at least 10 of the high-profile kidnappings in Nigeria. They terrorized their province and nobody was spared. Upon their arrest recently, it turns out 2 of their victims used to be staff, two of their victims are actually still staff of the bank that John Lyon used to work with. When asked why he chose them, John Lyon would go on to indicate that he chose them because he was angry with them for getting him sacked. It is, however, unclear whether these guys played a hand directly in him being sacked, although he seems to bear a grudge with them for him being sacked. It's also yet to be established how he was actually sacked, whether things were done well or things were not done well, and the exact reason why he would single out these 2 people. But one thing that has been established is that these are high-profile officers within the various branches of the bank, so at least he knows they have money. Upon interrogation after his arrest, John, in the company of 3 of his accomplices, would deny being the leader of the group. He actually said that he was with the group and was taking them around, but he didn't even know that they were kidnapping. That was his initial story. He said he didn't know the group was engaged in kidnapping, and so he was innocently and naively rolling around with them, and that one of the 3 men arrested with him, one man called Emmanuel, is the one who is the mastermind behind the entire operation. So this would now put Emmanuel in a very, very tight corner, because definitely the mastermind of such an operation is going to get a stiffer sentence. And the man, Emmanuel Charles Angazi, was now triggered and decided that if that is the case, then I'm also going to spill the beans, and spill all the beans he did. It goes to corroborate the fact that there is no honor among thieves and criminals. So Emmanuel put it this way, that he is not the leader of the gang, and that Emmanuel is the leader of the gang. Emmanuel actually orchestrated everything. John is the leader of the gang, and John actually orchestrated everything, to the extent that John singled out these 2 staff, whose names I'll decide to withhold because investigations are still ongoing, because he knew they had the money, and he actually said verbally that he had a beef with them because they had gotten him sacked by the bank. So it was actually John Lyon who showed them the residence of these 2 bankers, and then accordingly planned out the whole thing with schematics and the modus operandi of how the operation was to go, and saw to its execution to the letter. So it is not him, Emmanuel, that is the leader, but rather is John. He also went on to indicate that unlike what John is saying, that where they kept the kidnapped victims is a location that is owned by Emmanuel, it's rather contrary to that, and that it's rather John Lyon or John Ewa who is in charge of all those things, and that he, Emmanuel, was just a driver. Between these 2 bankers, they claimed a ransom of 80 million naira and 30 million naira. So now my question is, 4 men were arrested. 2 of them are trying to pin it on the other. What of the other 2 people? What role did they play? I hope the story doesn't change where the 2 men will now say the last 2 people who haven't yet been heard from officially are the ones who masterminded the whole thing. But just so we are clear, this has actually corroborated the saying that there is no honor among thieves. They would seem like they are united fronts, they are the tight of bodies, and the saying is, well, thick as thieves. No, thieves are not that thick. The moment something goes wrong with the operation, especially when they get gripped by the law, the whole unity cracks and they turn on each other. So fast forward, Emmanuel has been arrested, John has been arrested, and the other 2 accomplices have also been arrested. And as was shown at the introductory part of this footage, you saw John on his knees, begging for forgiveness and actually saying that his wife has just given birth. This is so ironic because he was unforgiving towards his victims. Emmanuel actually went on to indicate in his confession to police that Emmanuel accepts that he is a kidnapper and that he has even killed some of his victims before. So the case is something that is going to escalate beyond kidnapping and ransom taking to now suspected murder, which of course may have to be proven in court. But it shows you the extent that these guys were ready to go just to get money and flaunt around. And then the most annoying part of it is, then John comes on social media and portrays the character of somebody who is morally and spiritually upright with his God and is also working hard, or as is the popular word, hustling hard, and he's making it. Imagine the effect it has on somebody who is diligently going through life and also working hard but with clean hands and not being able to achieve the amount of wealth that John is displaying on social media. It discouraged a lot of young men, and it could end up pushing people down the same path he's going, which he is keeping secret from the public he is dealing with on social media. But then, the truth does not hide. You can't hide the truth. It will come out. So if you go on social media, I'll bring out his social media posts on Facebook. You would see that recent happenings now seem to contradict everything that John was posting out there on social media. And when we get into it very soon in this video, you would see that it looks like his words were fighting with his actions, and his actions were also fighting with his words. He was doing one thing and saying the other, and he was saying one thing and doing the other. But now the picture has come out, everything is revealed, and so we are going to get into his social media and you will see the irony of the whole thing. Don't believe anything you see on social media. Go in and see the substance of the person himself, not just the words that they throw around. This guy will be in church and be portraying somebody who is highly spiritual and whatnot morally, but he was just involved in a kidnapping activity. Let's start taking a look at his social media handles. We'll go through some of the messages he put out and then just relate it to what he was doing. It's as though some of the messages were actually coded, but it had just one meaning at a time. But now, with the exposure of his criminal deeds, it has become more like a double entendre, where, so it was a coded message he and his God only understood. But for those of us on social media, we just had a single understanding. Let's get into his social media messages. Now let's start with a careful analysis of his social media posts, specifically Facebook. We are beginning with a post he made on the 26th of September 2018. That's about 4 years ago. And this is what he said: "Put God back on the throne. He will be your vindicator. He said, "Your latter days will be greater than your former days. He will take what was meant for hard and use it to your advantage. He will pay you back double for the unfair things that have happened." This seems more like just a Bible quotation, but you could see he is saying it as part of something that he either believes in or trying to get somebody to get motivated by. But he was not living by this. He was not putting his God on the throne. He was doing his own thing. Fast forward, or even before that, on the 17th of September, he had indicated that as your new pastor, so now he actually says he's a pastor, as your new pastor, I prophesy into your lives. People will make mistakes and pay money into your account. Also, your landlord will forget to ask you for your rent. And this prayer is for parents. Your children will be given scholarship in Jesus' name. If you believe, say amen. You see, personally, this is the type of spiritual hype I don't think is necessary. I think that some of these things encourage people to believe in reaping where they have not sown. And it brings forth some of these things. And it's no surprise that the same person professing that he's a pastor and preaching about reaping where you haven't sown has been caught up in a criminal endeavor like this. So you see him escalating. Fast forward again. On the 13th of October, same year, 2018, he posts, "People don't notice the things we do for them until we stop doing them. If you no like me, wetin you gain?" Just to translate the preaching aspect, he's saying people do not like the things we do for them until we stop doing them. If you don't like him, what do you gain from that? Now, this is a funny thing, looking at what has happened now and juxtaposing with this. People don't notice the things we do for them until we stop doing them. Yes, so you were kidnapping people, but they didn't notice. Now that you've been arrested and you can't kidnap them again, they will notice that this is what you are doing and the negative effects will be gone. And then fast forward on the 27th of January 2019, he posts again on Facebook, "One day, all those late nights and early morning will pay off. Believe that." At this time, you can see the lavishness growing from the pictures it shows. And with what he's saying, what is he doing late night and early morning? This is where the use of the hustling becomes contextual. There are people who are actually putting in hard work, breaking their backs, doing late nights and early morning, but doing clean and legitimate jobs. And then there are people like John Lyon who are kidnapping in the night and relocating kidnapped victims at dawn early morning to their destinations and picking up ransoms and coming back to social media to come and put out posts like this as though they are just working hard legitimately. Don't be fooled on what you see on social media. It didn't end there. It moves on to 3rd of February 2019, and he indicates, "The happiest people don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything. Be grateful. Happy Sunday, guys." This is also very ironic given what we are seeing now, because if he was actually grateful, he wouldn't be doing this and get caught up in it now. He would have been grateful with whatever he had and tried to earn diligently. And that is contrary to what he's saying, that happiest people don't have the best of everything, they just make the best of everything. Is he trying to tell us he was making the best of what he had? That definitely wouldn't have been the decision to be engaged in kidnapping, ransom taking, and as per his accomplices' testimony, even murder at a point. So you see, this guy is saying things that are either critiquing what he does, or it's a double entendre, a coded statement that still goes to indicate that he is doing something bad but trying to portray his good. Then 11th of February, he indicates every morning you have two choices: continue to sleep with your dreams or wake up and chase them. Success is not for the lazy people. But the funny thing is, he wasn't chasing success, he was chasing and kidnapping people. So his success from that chase would be the ransom. It's just a twisted thing. He comes back again on the 28th of February and mocks his president and encourages people that they should continue believing God is involved in their lives. But all this while he was kidnapping people, taking ransoms at the other side. So he's a motivational speaker by day, and in the night he's kidnapping people. And then he also portrays as a pastor. How twisted mentally would you have to be able to keep all these personalities in check and make yourself look like somebody that people should envy to be? He goes on to 21st April and posts again on Facebook: work hard in silence. Let your success be your noise. Happy Easter, guys. And this is very funny because he's actually working hard at kidnapping people in silence. And the ransom money, he's using that money to make noise in nightclubs, make noise on social media, make noise in life. So you see, he's putting the same thing another person who is working legally and diligently will put, but he is doing something negative with it. So if you come on social media and you read this and you see this guy looking lavish and you say, oh yeah, and you begin to also look back and doubt yourself whether you are doing something right or wrong, because you are also engaging and subscribing to this same code and pushing, but your results are not coming. Please don't doubt yourself. Don't rush greatness. Everything good takes time. And this guy is living evidence of it. The outcome we are seeing now. Then the next one has to, it's quite a lot. I'm just sampling a few. So we go on to August 22nd. The street is for everyone, but not for the lazy ones. He always tries to portray he's working hard. This week, God is going to show us just how much He has your back. You are going to see a turnaround in your health, employment, business, relationship, and finance. God is going to do amazing things. You see, it's all, I think, a part of a ploy for money laundering, because he set up an interior decoration enterprise as well. So he was using that as a front. So he comes, see the 4x4s he is posing by, and you think, oh, this is a young guy whose business is thriving. No, his actual business that is thriving is not the interior decoration, but rather it's the kidnapping. But he wouldn't talk about that because it's illegal. And he goes on again, 24th August 2019. Everybody has a story to tell. All they need is someone to listen. Well, now we are listening and we've heard the story. I am a big fan of watching people grow. This was on December 12th. I'm a big fan of watching people grow and become healthier and happier versions of themselves. So then the question was, is it just that you are happy for people to prosper, or in your particular case, he is happy for people to prosper? You'll be watching them grow and become healthier and happier versions of themselves, so that when they reach the standard he's looking for, he will now come and kidnap them and take the ransom. This guy is just the personification of the word hypocrisy. And December 14th, make person no lie you. If you no hustle, you go hungry. Just to explain in proper English, he's just saying if you don't hustle, you go hungry. Meanwhile, your hustle is a crime. 16th December, sometimes I just look up, smile and say, I know that was you, Lord. Maybe he escaped getting caught, but all in all, you see the twisted personality of this guy. He's literally deceiving people on social media, and I think to an extent, even deceiving his own self, thinking that he's able to convince himself to be good. Personally, I've also had this encounter where you've seen people who have been able to defeat their conscience. I think this guy could be one of them, where he's able to lie to himself and believe it and pass on the lie to others. So, to wrap up this guy's case, the story is still unfolding. John Lyon, aka John Ewa, is in the grips of the Nigerian police. We are waiting to see how the story will continue to unravel, but this true crime story, I have a feeling, is going to be so big because his accomplice has already gone on to mention that there is murder at a point in their operations, and I'm expecting and trusting that the Nigerian police, as potent as they are becoming, they will look into that allegation as well. And now, to wrap up, we come back to the prophecy that he made on the 20th of August 2012, where he said, "Do not tell me about your friend, but one day you have to tell your friend about me." That is what has transpired now after his arrest. And you couldn't tell him about your friend, because if he gets to know your friend is successful, your friend is getting kidnapped and a ransom taken. But now, after his arrest, we have to tell our friends about him, just like I'm telling you about him now. That's ironic, how ironic his whole life and crime is. We wait to see how things unfold. Subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. Catch you another time. Stay safe out there.